Okay, so you just went to the climbing gym for the first time, or maybe your friends took you climbing outside. Maybe you've been browsing through Mountain Project or even bought a guidebook or two. You look around you and you start to notice those cryptic strings of numbers, decimal points, and letters. 5 what? V who? PG-13? R? Well, you've come to the right place because you're about to learn what these climbing grades mean and how to interpret them in 5 minutes or less. Now, in the US, we use what's called the Yosemite Decimal System when rating the difficulty of a route. The Yosemite Decimal System is broken down into 5 classes. Class 1 is your standard hiking trail. You probably want hiking boots, but you can leave the rope in the pack for now. Class 2 is slightly more extreme hiking, the kind people like to post on their Instagram feed along with a John Muir quote. You might have to use your hands occasionally, but the consequences of a fall are still pretty low. Class 3 is a lot like Class 2 in terms of difficulty, but things get a little more spicy. If you fall, you probably won't die, but you definitely won't have a very good day. Class 4 is where we really turn up the heat. While not straight vertical climbing, things are definitely getting steep. There are still solid footholds and handholds, so roping up isn't absolutely necessary, but the consequences of a fall can be fatal, so you may want to tie in if you're not 100% confident. Okay, Class 5. This is the peak, the pinnacle of the Yosemite Decimal System. These climbs are vertical or even overhanging and require a rope and harness for your average person. Unless you're not normal. This is where most of your gym climbs and most of the routes at your local crag live, so anytime you see a rating of 5 dot whatever, you should start untangling that rope and get the chalk ready. Since any chunk of vertical rock can be completely different from the next, Class 5 is further subdivided by adding a number after a decimal place. So 5.0 is the easiest Class 5 route, 5.1 is a bit harder, and so on, all the way up to 5.15. And because humans can't agree on anything, these grades are often further subdivided into A, B, C, and D. So, for example, a 511A is slightly easier than a 511B, which is slightly easier than... you get the idea. Some guidebooks will use a plus or minus sign instead of letters, so a 511 minus is slightly easier than a 511 plus. Typically, the difficulty of any given climb is proposed by the first person to climb it. Over time, as more and more people repeat the route, the climbing community as a whole comes to an agreement over what the grade should be. In general, the difficulty of a route is determined by the size and shape of the handholds and footholds and their distance apart. There's a million other factors that determine the difficulty of the route, but that's a topic for another video. When you're just starting out, you'll probably be climbing in the 5.0 to 5.8 range. Intermediate climbers may begin to tackle the 5.9 to 5.11 grades, while advanced and elite climbers will push up into 5.12 and beyond. So that's route climbing in a nutshell, but what about those V grades you see plastered all over the walls of your favorite gym? Well, the V scale is used to grade boulder problems, climbs that are low enough off the ground that you don't need a rope. The V scale, or Waco scale, is so named for its inventor, John the Verm Sherman. This one's a little easier to follow. V0 is the easiest, V1 is slightly harder, and so on, all the way up to V17. Beginners will usually climb in the V0 to V2 range. More intermediate climbers will hit the V3 to V5 range. V6 to V8 is pretty darn advanced, and V9 and up is elite level bouldering. One more thing you might see added to a route or bouldering grade is a PG, PG-13, R, or even X. Well, these aren't assigned by the Motion Picture Association. They actually indicate the inherent danger of the route. This may be due to loose rock, long runouts between points of protection, or a high likelihood of ripping out gear if you fall. As you'd imagine, PG is only slightly dangerous, all the way up to X, in which a fall may be fatal. You won't see this rating on most routes, which are generally safe and well protected, but be on the lookout for R and X rated routes and know what you're getting yourself into before you start climbing. The thing about ratings are they're subjective. Since each person is a different shape and size and has different strengths and weaknesses, what might feel, say, 512A for one person actually feels more like 511C to another. This is simply due to different body mechanics and training protocols. Therefore, grades should always be taken with a grain of salt. Use them as a guideline, but don't obsess over them. Just climb what inspires you and enjoy the process. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, please consider supporting the channel by subscribing. And have a great day.